Hello, 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 our beautiful, beautiful friends. Welcome back. Hadia and Angela here. And also we have our fur babies. Happy is here with us. Happy is the doggy for those of you who are listening. And you have your fur baby.
I have Anubis and Aima.
So today we're going to talk about language, words, using words and how it affects you and how it affects other people around you. Mindful languaging, mindful words. Also, there is negative languaging, negative words, and there's also black, emotional blackmail languaging that people use, and we will explain all that. And I invite you, I am a spiritual coach, counselor, motivational coach. I invite you to go to hadialoving.com to sign up for your sessions. I help you to create and co-create a better life for yourself, better dating life, better finances, better choices, setting boundaries, and you'll be happy and happier. And Angela is also extraordinaire healer, and she does her own special healing. You can work with her, with me, with both of us. There is no conflict and no competition. We do different things, and we were educated similarly, that we found our own niches. So Angela, you want to share? Oh, and if you do want to get a hold of Angela, contact me and I will refer I'll refer you to her and she will contact you. So
Thank
Angela,
you.
you want to speak of what you do?
Sure. I'm also a life coach. I do shamanic therapies and I also do biotuning, which uses tuning forks, but it's a little different than acutonics for anybody who knows what that is. And they all those modalities work very well together.
Yes. And yeah, and I love your work actually. So let's start with language and how it affects you. Using words with your mind and your feelings, and physically, words affect us. So I want to start with the big one, which is emotional blackmail, and get that out of the way. So emotional blackmail sounds something like, and this is the extreme of it. Sounds something like, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. If you leave me, I'm going to kill you. That is like the big, big one. Or if you do this, I'm leaving. I'm breaking up with you. I'm dumping you. So that's emotional blackmail. And that's like the worst way to emotionally blackmail people. Also, people emotionally blackmail children with using Jesus or religion. Like I would hear people say, if you don't eat your vegetables, Jesus won't love you. Ah, that's a horrible thing to tell children. If you don't do well on your homework, Jesus will be mad at you. So that's also emotional blackmail. And there's variation of that as well. So a variation of it is, oh well, I won't be happy. I am not happy in this relationship. And it's like, all right, if you're not happy, go on with your badass self and go be happy somewhere else. So anything that emotionally puts the person in a hostage situation inside themselves and they feel trapped, that's emotional blackmail. Do you want to add anything to that, Angela?
Well, one thing I'm thinking about, there's an institute called the Gottman Institute in Seattle. I think it's run through the University of Washington. Don't 100% quote me on that part, but but John Gottman is pretty well known for relationship coupling. And a lot of people go to that institute to learn how to have these kinds of conversations. So along the lines of emotional blackmail, he has something called the Four Horsemen. And with all the negative Jesus speak you were just doing to a lot of people, that might sound kind of apocalyptic, but it's it's not in the way that he presents it. Although, you know, we can bring death to a relationship, I suppose, when we go about things in a confrontational or wrong way. But the four horsemen that he talks about, one is called stonewalling. And I would say that relates to the emotional blackmail that you're talking about.
Sure.
And the others are criticism, contempt, defensiveness. And just wanted to bring up the thing that John Gottman says is anytime you use any one of these measures, of course, threatening suicide or something that extreme may take even more repair, but any one of these four, anytime they're used, you have to prize somebody 5 times just to undo the eroding of trust. Can you see Anubis on the screen? I'm not sure why you're smiling, but just to undo the eroding of trust and the gap that is created in that kind of a behavior.
Yeah, and even children do it to their parents. If you don't buy me this, I'm going to kill myself. I'm never coming out of my room. I'm never eating. That's emotional and mental blackmail. And it's learned behavior. And a lot of people don't even know that they're doing that because we learn it. It's a learned behavior, usually from movies, from TV shows. It's bad languaging, bad wording, and we do it to ourselves as well. Every time you're like, I'm no good, I'm not enough, I'm never leaving the house, I'm too depressed, you're actually putting yourself in a box, emotionally blackmailing yourself, and mentally and physically, because you're unable to move forward because of your negative emotional blackmail, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Our language affects us physically as well. It stops us from moving forward into action. And if you're not moving into action, you're not living, you're not alive, you're actually dead. You're just breathing in a body and not doing anything. You're not having your life that you're meant to have. So that is the sum of emotional blackmail. And I really invite you to look into it and look at it and start writing down your thoughts and how your negative thoughts creates negative feelings and how it impacts your physical body and lack of actions as well. I've worked with a lot of people who are depressed or anxious, and I'm like, let's look at your languaging. Let's look at what you're thinking about. Your thoughts create your feelings, and then they create lack of action. So that's the severe degree is emotional, mental blackmail. And then there's negative thoughts. So what we're going to get to is mindful languaging, mindful words. That's what's supported. And you can learn to create mindful languaging. I certainly did. I came from being negative and dramatic. Everything was very dramatic in my 20s. And then either the positive was very dramatic and the negative was very dramatic. There was like no in between. I was either super, super excited, super, super happy, like, oh my God, or oh my God. So it's also important to learn to balance the languaging and the emotions so you can be in consistent physical action in your life. Consistency is really valuable and very important. Do you want to add to that? Or should we move on?
Let's just keep going and see what happens.
Okay. So negative languaging, communication. So this is all about learning how to communicate with yourself and with other people. And again, most of us learn to communicate through listening to music, through watching TV shows, movies, reading books, because usually our caregivers are too busy. So we learn vicariously through the outside world, and it's not always positive, especially if you're a person who watches a lot of negative TV or negative movies and war movies and doing games. So negative language This is not emotional blackmail, but it does affect you. It's constantly saying, I can't do this. I can't do that. This is too much. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. No, I don't want to do this. So the operative words here is I can't. I don't know how. I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to. It is not for me. It's like, how do you know it's not for you? Have you tried? Have you? It's the only way to learn if something is for you or not is by you trying. Go for a walk. Get on a bicycle. No, I don't go swimming. Have you ever been swimming? No. You don't like to swim. You've never swam. Like, how does that work? How do you know? People that say, well, I don't like the desert. I was one of those people. I live in Southern California. It's a desert. Yes, I live by the beach. In my mind, because it's by the beach, it's not a desert, but Southern California is a desert. All of it is a desert. And then I started going on retreats to Joshua Tree. It is so beautiful. That's like in the desert. And if some of you have been there, you know how beautiful Joshua Tree is. It's amazing. It's just glorious. And I'm like, I actually like the desert, and I like the beach, and I like the mountains. You don't have to limit yourself to choose this or that. We're also taught, and it's a misconception, that we have to choose this or this. No, you can like the desert, and you can like the ocean, and you can like the mountains and the rivers. And I like to vacation on all those places. So limiting thoughts, irrational beliefs, that is negative. What's going on, Angela?
This is the first time I've ever done this, but you've frozen a number of times, and I can't tell if it's going to be like that on the video or if it's just like that for me. But there's like little points where I'm not quite getting everything.
Okay, I don't know either. So
I'm sorry, just to,
It's okay. It's all right.
But that's why if I'm making funny faces, I'm like, what did she say sometimes?
Yeah. You're freezing too, and I'm just going with it. I'm like, I don't know. Technology is not on our.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
If we're freezing, we apologize. Technology, it does its thing. It's in charge. So what was I saying? So limiting.
Oh, wow.
One of the negative things we do is we limit ourselves. We have limiting beliefs, irrational beliefs, and limiting thoughts and limiting feelings. And we limit ourselves physically to experience life. Like saying, oh, I don't like the snow. I don't like skiing. I used to say that because I don't like the cold. When I was a child, every winter I would get sick. So I was like, oh, I don't like the cold. I get sick. But then I went skiing for the first time, like in my 20s, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Tahoe. If you're ever gonna go skiing and you've never been skiing, go to Tahoe. I've gone skiing in other places, but Tahoe is gorgeous. Lake Tahoe. So notice how you limit your life, how you limit your thriving and flourishing through the negative thoughts. Every time you tell yourself, I don't know how to do this. Well, it's fine. None of us know how to do everything, but you can learn. And that's the switch. You switch your irrational thoughts, negative wording, to, I don't know how to do this, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to ask for help. And nowadays, with YouTube, we almost don't have an excuse not to know how to learn something. All of us can learn anything through YouTube, almost. Or you can get help, join a Zoom thing that will teach you how to do something. So sit down and write on a piece of paper your thought. If you do that for one day, you will realize if you're a positive person or a negative person. Like a lot of people I work with, they think they're positive, and when they do this exercise, they say, wow, Hadia, I had no idea. I had no idea how negative I was. And I had no idea how I limited myself. from my life and experiences. And like people do this with food, with drinks. All I drink is coffee in the morning. I gotta have my coffee. If I don't have my coffee, I can't function. That is negative thinking. That is limiting thinking. How do you know? Like, wake up one morning and don't have coffee and go exercise. Do some breathing exercises, and your body will get oxygen and it will energize you. So notice how you trap yourself in a routine, and if you're out of it, it throws you off. So the key thing is to not allow limited thinking and limited feeling trap you in a life that will make you unhappy. Be flexible. Be flexible with your thoughts, be flexible with your feelings, and then your action steps. Like a lot of people wake up and they have a morning routine. They brush their teeth the same way. They shower the same way. This doctor, genius doctor, I forget his name. He's a scientist. He's like, do things differently. Do your routine differently because that stimulates your thoughts and your mind. Don't be doing the same thing over and over and over again. Don't eat the same cereal in the morning or do the same juicing or coffee in the morning. Switch it up, do it differently. And that will help you release the limiting behavior, limiting thoughts, and limiting feelings. Go ahead, Miss Angel.
Oh, as always, so many places my brain is. I'm thinking of all the times I have intentionally kind of shaken myself up in that way. Sleeping on the other side of the bed or trying to exercise like writing with the other hand. But that's somewhat different territory too. I mean, I think so much of what this is about, what we're talking about is consciousness, bringing more consciousness to our experience. And that is what we do in coaching and in the healing work, is looking at ourselves from a wider perspective, to bring more mindfulness to the thoughts that we have, to the words that we have. And some of what you were saying, it's easy to think I'm a generally positive person and the things that I say are positive. My intentions are good. And I'm, at times watching myself still kind of run in really old loops that I think I'm past too. But, it's funny, we can often tune to other people and pick it up much more easily what it is that they do. If we do come into that awareness about another, rather than thinking, what is that other person saying? What are they complaining about all the time? What's their negative chatter? Stop and ask yourself, how do I do this? And where do I show up like that? And, one thing I hear all the time, and again, more recently, I caught myself, certain things, people, I will say, I have to do such and such. And there's such little tweaks we can do that completely change the energy of a statement like that. I have to. It feels like such a drudgery, oh, I have to go to work. I heard somebody recently say, and maybe a lot of people with a martyr type of limitation might do this, but, well, I don't really get to go on a trip, I don't have a vacation, but I have to go, to this place because my nephew is graduating and I have to make the cake and all the cater the graduation. Well, I have to because it's a family tradition. Instead of, I get to go away right now and visit this other state. I get to spend time with family. Like I get the honor of creating, beautiful food and, nourishing all the people that I love for this celebratory time. It's such a different experience. And there was even a time, if I reflected back on myself during all this, COVID shenanigans, where I was starting to get upset with myself because I'm not somebody who really drinks a lot of alcohol. I have a very clean way of eating and living for the most part. But I had a time where I was living closer to my mom. And she likes her little cocktail in the evenings. It's like an aspirin. She deserves it. Her body aches. That's what she's always done. But it was a habit I was adapting and spending time with her. And there was one day I was like on my way over there and I was just beating myself up inside, like, oh, like, have to go over there and spend time and and like I'm going to drink. And I just like stopped myself right there. And I was like, how lucky am I during this time to be close for a change, to a family member I love at this point in life. And instead of, belittling myself and thinking about what a bad habit this is, like I was like, I get to have happy hour, like on work nights, like with my mom. It's like being on vacation. This is my life. And it was such a little thing, but it started changing the way I was phrasing all kinds of things in my head. So it's just those little points of awareness that really start to shift how we think, how we speak, then how we get to engage in a whole new energy with ourselves and with others, and that completely transform the reality.
Yep. I want to highlight that. So shifting from I have to, I should, to I want to. You're doing it anyways. You might as well choose because you are choosing to do it. So choosing to do it begrudgingly or choosing to do it owning that you want to. Because if you really, none of us, if we really didn't want to do anything, none of us would do it. None of us would do it. So shifting consciousness. And when, like you're saying, when we shift our consciousness from have to, from should, to I want to, and I am, and I'm enjoying myself, we show up differently. Then you enjoy the experience. You enjoy the process. You enjoy the people you're doing things with. And your body chemistry changes. Then you're not depressed. You're not anxious. We get depressed and anxious because we do all these shoulds. I should do this. I should do that. I should have done this. I should have done that. And that gets us in anxiety and depression. Releasing the should, because the truth is, again, we are empowered beings. You're a soul and a spirit in a human body having a human experience, and you're choosing your human experience. Now, some of you are listening to this, you're like, no, I have to go to work. Actually, you do not have to go to work. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to get out of bed. You choose to begrudgingly until now. And hopefully this talk will help you own your empowerment. Some people choose not to go to work and they live in the world. They live on the streets. They're homeless. That's their choice. And a lot of us say, well, they have mental health issues. I understand that. And I get it. Most of us have mental health issues. Those of us who suffer from depression, from anxiety, from lack, just lacking this, lacking that, we have mental health. I call it mental wellness. So shifting your languaging in your thoughts, it shifts your feelings and it shifts your body chemistry and your behavior. And life would seem better. Mindful thoughts. Just like there's, and I don't like that. I'm gonna, what is it, Angela? We talked about it last time. Nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication. So nonviolent communication. I don't think the internet is working well. We have to when we're done, we have to listen to this and see if it's worthy to post. Anyways, so I like to call it mindful communication.
Today is one of those days.
Yes. So mindful communication needs to start with you. You gotta really hear yourself, hear your thoughts, watch and notice your feelings about who you are and about other people. We are also negative about other people, judgy, judgy, judgy. Now, judging is not useful. It's not useful for you, for your body chemistry, and for your life and for your wellness. It's not useful for other people. It pushes other people away from you when you're judging. And when you're putting yourself on a pedestal and putting other people down, you're separating yourself. That's the ego separating you from connection, from vulnerability, from authenticity, from loving, from joy. And when you notice, so there's a difference between judging and discernment. It's important to have discernment. It's important to notice who people are and what they're doing and have discernment. Okay, this person is misbehaving and I choose not to be with them. And that's a clear choice. But if you're judging them, you're actually energetically connecting yourself to them. And it drains you and it doesn't do you any good. So mindful communication starts with how you are with yourself. If you're a person who can't look in the mirror and say, I love me, I care about me, I am amazing, then you cannot care or love anybody else. It needs to start with you. And that is a very powerful exercise. Like start with simple things. Just look in the mirror and look into your eyes and see yourself. Just stand there until you could see you and be as close as you need to be. And start simple with, I like you. Just say that to yourself. I like who I am with a smile. And when we smile as well, it changes our chemistry and it changes how we feel about ourselves. Mindful communication, mindful thinking, mindful feeling, mindful action steps. And when you are aware and mindful, it empowers your life. Your life will start getting better and better, little by slow. And releasing this, I should do this, I should have done that, and remorse and regret. Like some people say, oh, it's good to have regret, so you don't. I disagree. It's not good to have regret. It's good to learn from your mistakes and to uplift and learn to do it differently next time. Like this is the languaging I use. I'm here, I'm challenged by this, and I want to learn. I want to talk about it, write about it, and learn how to do it differently next time. Because there's always another opportunity and another and another. As long as you're in this human body, you'll always have more and more opportunities to learn things if you're open to them.
Yeah, and when we talk about awareness and choosing our thoughts and choosing our words, it is because the very act of doing that does expand perspective, does allow a different movement, a different outcome to occur.
If you have a limiting language base, like you only know a few words, a lot of people don't have a big language base. Go to Google or ask Siri, Siri, give me a list of positive words. Give me a list of mindful languaging. Or what's the other one? I went and stayed with a friend. She has, what is it called? Echo or something. Echo is in charge of the whole.
I'm not advertising any of those things, but I'm with you.
I'm not trying to advertise. That's just the world we live in. It's like, oh my God. Like, Siri, turn off the light. I'm like, what? It's funny to me. I was like, wow. So
I mean, I do think those things can make your life easier. I get that. But I also think, we want to choose within our own being, because so much of the kinds of words that we use, it's like we're able to be also our own authority in things. There's a certain degree of giving power away. We do that in some word choices. We claim power in other word choices. Some people might use words to try to puff themselves up or take power from you. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be the consciousness that calls the power back, that brings the authority back. And I do think if we're always looking to outside sources, you spoke before about how religion can be used to make somebody feel bad, make somebody do something,
Emotional blackmail.
It's emotional blackmail, and we're experiencing things like that all the time. Religion can do that just as it can set people free. Politics can do that just as it can set people free. And always going to another source for an answer, in a way, like you can become enslaved to, what does Alexa tell me? Or, what does this other source, like the news, that's supposed to be an authority, tell me? But just as hearing, Jesus won't love you if you don't eat vegetables or something like that, as a society, we hear words over and over, just as we do in our families growing up or in relationships, when it's not healthy, that traumatize us, and it might be intentional, it might not be intentional. Sometimes social engineering happens by keeping people in a state of fear or using fear-based languaging. And sometimes we're held hostage emotionally in relationships in the same way. But we have to be ultimately our own power and our own authority. And that comes with choosing our words, and really also understanding when we're hearing language, we're hearing other people's words, like, do we mean the same thing? We always in our psychology program did perception checking. I might use a word that to me means one thing and to somebody else means another thing. And if words, and they do, carry resonance and frequency, it might hit me in a happy place, it might hit somebody else, with a wound. So message sent isn't always message received, even if we're trying to be conscious about that messaging. So perception checking is a good thing. When I use this word, this is what it means to me. Is that how you understand it? That can happen too.
Agreed. And so perception checking and expanding on your language. Language is a beautiful tool, or it could be a harmful tool. Using our words to empower ourselves and each other is mindful living. Using our words to hurt ourselves and each other is not. It keeps you in the spaces of not liking yourself, not loving yourself, not caring about your life. So shifting, and it's important to expand your positive languaging, looking up positive words or reading poetry. Poetry, for the most part, has its positive languaging. Reading self-help books, but also emotionally connecting. Like, if you want to start with I am enough, like that's a universal thing. Usually most people don't feel enough and they feel lack. And starting with, just do a word a month, take on one word a month and start with I am enough. Do it in front of the mirror. look in the mirror, look into your eyes, and say, I am enough. And keep saying that. And for those of you who don't believe they're enough, your mind will argue you, your ego will argue. It'll be like, no, you're not, you're lying. Like, it's okay. Just be kind, compassionate for your experience. And don't argue back, just say, thank you for sharing, and I am enough. And keep repeating it till it becomes in your nature, till you start believing that you are enough. And then after that word, and it becomes in your nature, then go to the next word that is useful for you. Like, I am beautiful, I am sexy, whatever word you need in your life. I am smart, I am creative, I am brilliant, I am zestful, I am free, I am joyous. And take one word at a time and practice it and embody it and have it become part of your nature. Like, in your nature, now you know that you are enough. Because most people, it's in their nature to think that they're losers, or they're stupid, or they're not enough, or they're not accomplished. I was working with someone the other day who wants to have a girlfriend, and what he said was, I am not worthy of having a girlfriend. That's what came out of his mouth. And I said, okay, stop. And he didn't hear it. I was like, did you just hear what you said? He goes, no. I was like, you said, I am not worthy of having a girlfriend. I'm like, if you believe that if that's your truth, and you believe that in your core, you're never going to have a girlfriend. Why would any woman want to be with you if you don't think you're worthy of having her in your life? So our languaging creates what we have in our lives, what we are, what we're doing. And also you need to put it into action. Like, you can't sit here and say, I'm a millionaire, and then money's going to fall from the sky. You got to put it into action. If you want to be healthy physically, you can't sit here and say, I'm healthy. You affirm that you are physically healthy, but you go and work out, and you eat well, and you drink water, and you get enough rest. So mental shift, emotional shift, and physical exercise. You got to exercise what you want in your life. You can't, like, a lot of people get into the self-help world and they just start doing things mentally. That's good. That's a beginning. That's a start. But you got to couple it with your emotional body, your feelings, start feeling good about yourself, and physical action. You got to go do it in action, physical action. So you got to align yourself in body, mind, emotion, spirit, and soul. So mindful living includes prayer, meditation, listening to positive podcasts, listening to positive music, feeling good about yourself, watching things that make you laugh, bring you joy, and physically do things that bring you joy. The way you dress yourself, keeping your home clean, eating healthy food, having interesting conversations with your friends. And if you don't know how to have interesting conversations, learn. Google it again. I mean, nowadays things are so much easier. When it was my time, like, we had the encyclopedia, and it was huge books. And people said, go to the dictionary. And we did. Go to the thesaurus, which I have a thesaurus, and I love using the thesaurus. I think it's fun. So that's what I suggest. When you shift your thoughts from negative thoughts, from emotional blackmail thoughts, mental blackmail thoughts, physical, because you are blackmailing your body as well. When you're telling yourself you're not enough, you're stopping yourself from living the life that you want to live. When you start telling yourself, I am enough, you're freeing yourself to pursue in action the life that you want.
And the client that you're sharing about, you had even mentioned, he said, I'm not worthy. He didn't even catch that he said that. It was you that had to be there to witness it. and then to point it out. So, in coaching, again, it's so much about consciousness, bringing awareness to the thoughts that become the words, that become the actions, because the negative thoughts are going to become the negative words that become the negative life experience, or the other way around. And if we don't even have awareness of the different kind of dialogue happening inside of our own head, and for most of us, there's a number of different voices in there, sometimes trying to talk us out of feeling worthy, or the ones that promote how worthy we are. And we need to get those parts together to share different sides of the dialogue, because usually they're running different stories. And that's part of what we can support with, is bringing more awareness to the different voices, and then modulating the voices, because the voice that says I'm not worthy, it has important information for you. It has probably a language of its own, certain words that it uses that you might hear from that one part over and over again. It might give you the sense then, maybe this is my voice of unworthiness. You can even give it a name. But on the other hand, that part can speak to another voice and say, well, tell me a story about a time when I was really worthy of something, and if it was me, I might tell you about this time when I was really little, and, I was like always one of the best artists in my elementary school. And then I did the coloring contest at the grocery store, and, and I won, and I got all these prizes, and, and that part could speak to the part years later down the road when I was trying to talk myself out of, I'm not a good enough artist to show in galleries, or, or whatever the story might be. For me, that's a story, but those are two different parts that I could bring together. And the one lifted up and supported the other so that they could integrate, so that I could get a new language around it. My unworthy became worthy. My I can't do it became, well, here's an example of when I did do it. And those things all create the strategies that create the next steps, and change the languaging around what I can't to what I can do, what I have done, how I might do it again. And then pretty soon you are doing it again and again. And you're also more aware when the one voice shows up or when the other voice shows up, how to meld them both so that they're actually both like a part of that inner committee that works together to provide information about what holds us back, and provides us information that negotiates with the unworthy part about how it can step up and move forward. That's such a big part of what we do in coaching practice. So you're gaining awareness at the same time you're integrating, at the same time that you're changing your life experience entirely. And when you are changing that life experience, I did get to go and show in a gallery. And ultimately, then I was on the board of a gallery for a number of years, actually. So everybody has stories like that. But at some point, there was a different voice, a different story going on.
And if you don't have a story, because I've worked with some people who've had hellish childhoods and teenagehood, you can make it up. Our imagination is so vast and so creative and so beautiful. And the beauty about being a soul and a spirit in a human body, having a human experience, is our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and non-reality. You can actually recreate your childhood. You can create any life that you want in your imagination. And if you keep visualizing over and over the life that you want, it will become real for you. You will start believing it sooner or later, a lot of times sooner. So it's going towards what you want in your thoughts, your feelings, and then also physical action. If you want to learn how to be an artist and you've never, you grew up with somebody telling you, oh, you're a bad artist, or, there's always this one teacher usually for most of us who is like, no, you can't do this. Create in your imagination that you're in a class, you're 5 years old, and the teacher is raving about your art, or raving about your speaking, or raving about jumping, jumping jacks or whatever. Like, I wasn't good in sports. And I remember when this was third grade.
I'm with you on that one.
This was third grade, right? And we had to climb the rope. And I'm like, no, I can't.
Oh.
And he's just like, you have to do it, Hadia. And I'm like, no, I can't. And he's like, yes, you do. And this is always like, we had, I don't know why they do this, male teachers for little 8-year-old girls, right? And I was in an all girls school. And so I grabbed the rope and I try to climb, and I hit myself against the wall. I hit my head. You're supposed to use your legs against the wall to climb up. And I hit my head and I fall back, and I'm like, I'm out. And I'm like, I told you I can't do it. And they sent me to the nurse's office. So that was very traumatic for me for a long time. Like, I shied away from picking up a ball, playing basketball, playing soccer. I was always scared I'm gonna get hurt. But as I got older, and then I've had friends who like to play volleyball, like to play basketball, I'm like, okay, in my imagination, I started imagining that I can actually bounce a ball. I have not gone back and gone up a wall with a rope yet. But I think about that. I'm like, I'm open. And I can play basketball enough, nothing major to write home about, but I do it. I remember playing volleyball, and the first week I played volleyball with friends, I was in my 20s, I was bruised. My arms were so bruised and I was in so much pain. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this really hurts. But then my body got used to it and I became good enough to play. None of us were sport pros anyways. So I'm like, you do this for fun. You do this for connection. You do this to hang out with friends. We'd meet up, play basketball, or there was like a league of us from this community that I was a part of. We'd meet like Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday evening. And we would play, and then we'd just go hang out and break bread together. And it was really fun. So it wasn't about the volleyball. It was about willing to experience and willing to be like, I don't know how to play. And everybody was nice to me and they taught me. And then I became like good enough to play with them, so being open. And I used my imagination to be like, I could do this. This is fun. Even though I was bruised, it really hurt. I was like, it's okay. I had a good time. I did not allow the physical bruising to cut me off from showing up and connecting and making friends and having fun with my new friends. And then some of them became lifelong friends. So it's shifting how I choose to show up instead of saying, oh no, I can't play volleyball. I'm never going to play volleyball. And at first I was like, I'll just come and sit and be an audience, right? And they're like, come on, Hadia, play with us. I'm like, well, I'm not really good. They're like, it's okay. And I wasn't good, but I played week after week that I became good enough to play. Nothing, on any level, but, good enough to be part of the group playing volleyball. So it's shifting my attitude. It's important to shift our attitude, and that starts with my thoughts. It started with, well, I don't know, then okay, I'll do it as long as you guys are okay with me, holding you back. They're like, no problem. And people are generous to us when we are generous to ourselves. When my experience is, when I'm willing to try something and I'm not good at it, people around me are kind and generous. So like, it's okay, it's fine, just do it. It's okay if we lose, because we're here to have a good time anyways. Not like we're going out for the gold medal. We're just here to hang out and have a good time through this form called volleyball. So shifting with your thoughts, imagination, feeling, and then actually physically go out and play volleyball or basketball. Or, for me, now that I'm talking about this, I need to find a gym and go climb that rope and see if I can do it now. So yeah.
For me, that's about discernment. It's okay if there's certain things I don't do well. I accept that. But it also affects my life. I'm not hard on myself because of it. I also accept what some of my limitations are. There's certain things like I could practice forever. I'm never going to be the best athlete, but I don't have to be. Like your example, you changed your story about what it was about for you. You didn't have to be the best volleyball player. It became about, I can participate and enjoy the people I'm with, and I'm supported in that situation. And then it was more just about fun than having to be or do anything spectacular. But some people, you had said, come into perhaps a coaching partnership, and they didn't come from a background with that kind of support. They don't have people that make it fun and okay for them. Maybe some people, feed you the story from a young age that you then adapt, or you then take on some of those same words and make them part of your, personal languaging or personal limiting. But there's so many exercises, even if you can't be on that 49 to 51% borderline of I believe I could do better, or I believe I am worthy. Imagination, as you said, can play a big part of it. And sometimes a leap in imagination is too much. Somebody can't necessarily believe it. But the question can come up even, I can't remember where this came from, but somebody was once telling me, there was a commercial when I was younger. I don't know if it was like the 70s or the 80s, but it was just something like, maybe, boy, lots of advertisements today. I don't know if it was for Snickers or something, but whatever it was, the commercial had, like a grandpa, let's say, and like the grandson, and the grandpa like split the candy bar with them or something. And to this person who had grown up really without anybody showing them kindness or generosity or sharing things with them, they saw that commercial and it struck them, and it stayed with them because they didn't have a personal point to reflect back on that was like that. But they saw that and they thought, are people really like that? and that, commercial grandpa was sort of like this fantasy to hold on to, that, oh, maybe someday I could sit down and somebody could like break that candy bar in half and care enough about me to give me that other half. So even something like that, that fantasy can be a starting point for, this is what I would like life to look like, and create a living visualization for what the future might be like. And a lot of times when people don't know how they're worthy, or maybe don't even know what they care about if they've come from a really difficult upbringing, we do passion quests with people. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm good at. But a passion quest is something where it can be going outside and seeing like what gets you excited. I've had people take passion quests with their cameras, but we can take passion quests with words too. Mm-hmm. We can sit down and find the words, that if somebody were to say them to us, like, would just make us light up, or the words that when we use them bring about some kind of passion for us. They're the words that, give us a lot of juice. And, like I use the word, beautiful all the time. I call people beautiful, and things are beautiful. And And it's because beauty is the quality that is important to me. Part of how I create my heaven on earth is through things like beautiful words, and poetry can be part of that. Beautiful things in my home, beautiful people. But just to say, like, that's one word that really resonates for me. And so in my purpose statement, as long as there's beauty around, like, that is something that's always going to fill me up. And for somebody else, it might be a different word. What we want to do is like find, a number of those words that just kind of really charge your battery and make you feel excited. And when you have those words, and you can kind of like in your little passion quest, rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. How alive and excited do I feel about this word? You might pull a bunch of them off until you're left with lots of 4s and 5s, and then create a personal statement about what you would like your life to be like, the ideal life you would live, and put all of those words in there. That's a way to start changing your language and that emotional relationship to the words. Or you would make the point too about, you do so much contrary action. So if there is a negative word that lingers there, like, what is the word that is completely on the other side of that? And find that for yourself, and start playing with when, the limiting word shows up. What is the enabling word? What is the word that makes you feel good on the other side of that? Look like when you start using it more in your language, in your sentences, and recognizing it and validating it and prizing it in yourself and in other people too. That's also a huge life changer. And it's a good way just to get starting when you're kind of just becoming aware, and maybe faking it until you make it a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the most important things is to recognize and make a commitment, make a conscious commitment that you want to be aware of your languaging and what that is for you, and start hearing your thoughts and start hearing your words, even if you have to tape yourself. I mean, a lot of coaches recommend doing that now, with our cell phones. Just turn your phone on and forget that it's on, and then allow it to record you while you're talking to people. And when you listen back, you'll be amazed at what comes out of your mouth. You're like, wow. So having conscious awareness and making a commitment that I want to live my life mindfully. I want to have mindful languaging, mindful words, mindful thoughts, mindful feelings, and mindful actions to create the life that I want for myself. So first thing is commitment. You commit to that way of life. And then, as you're saying, our imagination is so powerful. If you didn't have positive experiences in your life and you don't have reference point, create it. Create it in your mind. And somebody said, I don't remember who, if you can think it, you can create it. If you can think it, you can create it. Do you know who said that? No.
Well, it just reminds me of a song. If you can, what is it? If you can see, no. If you believe it, you can conceive it.
Yes. So if you start having mindful thoughts, mindful feelings, and going into mindful actions for your life, you'll create the life that you want. If you are not living the life that you want right now, you could change it. Everything is possible through shifting your thoughts first, and then having compassion for yourself. It's really important to be kind, to be compassionate, to be gentle, to be loving. I know I use the word loving a lot. Love yourself, be in love with yourself. It's like, what does that mean? What does that actually mean? Be kind, be compassionate, be gentle. Allow yourself room to learn, to grow, to make mistakes. The word sin comes from the Latin word. It means mistake, making a mistake. Make as many sins as you want in your life, as long as you learn from them. There's no such thing as a sin you can't come back from. There really isn't. And I preach this a lot. So, one of the ways to be kind to yourself is take your hand, place it on your heart space, and connect to your heartbeat. And really wait until you feel your heart and you hear your heart beating. Like I can feel, I've been doing this practice for years. I connect with my heartbeat all the time. And that grounds you into your loving, into your kindness, into your passion, and slow everything down. And then connect to your breathing and stay connected to your heartbeat. And then when you hear yourself say something negative, for example, if you say, I'm stupid, I'm not enough, then say, even though I think I'm not enough, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I think I'm not enough, I completely love and accept myself. And that's where the compassion comes in, the gentleness, the sweetness. Even though I hear myself say I'm stupid, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I hear myself say I'm a loser, I completely love and accept myself. So it's really important to apply compassion when you want to shift things. If you're really working on shifting your languaging and living a mindful life, mindful words, mindful feelings and action, you got to do it with loving, with gentleness, with compassion. Think of a puppy. When you get a puppy and you're potty training them, if they pee or poop on the floor, are you going to kick them and hurt them? Most people don't. Some people do, I understand, but most people don't. You're just like, oh, puppy. You know, when Happy makes a mistake, I'm like, oh, Happy, and she senses that I'm upset, but I'm kind and gentle with her. She doesn't do it ever again because of my loving and kindness towards her. Happy is my dog. Um, so be kind and gentle. There's a saying that I love, and I was trying to find it. It says, I am not here to teach you, I'm here to love you, and love will teach you. So say that to yourself. I'm not here to teach me, I'm here to love me, to live in loving with myself, and loving will teach me. When we are in the space of love, we learn more and faster, and we grow, and we get to where we want to be much faster. You know, I've worked with a lot of clients. I work with a lot of young men, and I'm grateful for that. And I teach them how to love themselves and how to care for themselves. And a lot of them in the beginning resist. They're like, but I need to be hard. I need to go hard. And I'm like, I understand you think that that works and that's sustainable, but it really isn't sustainable. And when they start practicing self-caring, self-nurturing, self-gentleness, self-compassion, self-loving, they're like, Hadia, you're right. Like they used to go to the gym and work hard, but then the wind gets taken from them. They get tired. But when they go to the gym with a mindset of, I'm here because I love it, I enjoy it, I want to be fit, I am fit, and I love working out, it's sustainable. They have a great workout. And they do go hard, but it's a different mindset, a different consciousness. It comes from a place of being mindful, and it helps them. So this is what we have to offer you. We're going to wrap this up. In wrapping, Angela, is there anything you want to add?
Part of me just did want to talk a little bit about, that there is also just so much science behind this.
Yes, thank you.
That we as human beings are all connected. And I know we've touched on it a little bit in past videos, that our thoughts, that our words do impact others. And, sometimes we say the whole thing about, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me. but they do. A lot of times we will hold on to words, either the ones that we tell ourselves over and over, or even the ones once upon a time somebody said to us, that are still with us years later. And it might be something we directly say to another. It might just be something that we think without ever speaking a word, because even without it leaving our mouth, that thought and that energy, that emotion that is attached to it, the intentionality of it also penetrates another person with or without words, with or without them knowing you think it. On a level, they are receiving it. There's a guy named Glenn Ryan who did an experiment using undifferentiated cells in taken from like a human placenta and put into a petri dish. And each one of those dishes were then kind of put into the control of somebody who'd been trained a particular way in the experiment to have an emotional experience in whatever the correct way for the experiment was. And what they found was that there were people directing anger in the way they were conditioned for the experiment to hold that feeling and that energy. And the cells in those dishes degraded, and the DNA degraded and even died. But by directing loving, they actually brought that DNA back. And so that speaks so much to just even the power of the thought and the emotion behind it. If it can do that to a cell in a dish that's outside of you, imagine what it's doing to you. And then we know Dr. Emoto, Masuru, I think is his first name, Emoto, who did a similar experiment using water. And the book that I read, the content is amazing. It's sort of like broken Englishy to read it, but the points that it makes are so profound. I still recommend it. If anything, flip through the pictures. but Dr. Emoto did a similar experiment with water, and the vibration, again, the frequency of thoughts directed at water. For example, one of the most polluted lakes in Japan, they got together and did a prayer at the foot of that water. And what they would do would be to take like water samples away. So they would look, at a water sample, after freezing it, it would crystallize, and the polluted water would make like misshapen flakes, and it looked dingy. But after doing these prayers, they would take the same water and it would turn into these beautiful, symmetrical, kind of crystallized, snowflake patterns that were gorgeous. And they did similar experiments, again, with like a petri dish, that they would literally put a word on the dish. And the word might be love, it might be hate, it might be like thank you, the devil. and looking at each one of those, things that were like I hate you or the devil, they were also misshapen and like discolored and kind of just blobby. Whereas every time, love or I love you or thank you or something equivalent to a higher frequency type of word, these beautiful snowflakes and all these different varieties are what formed from it. So I just want to speak to the power of that vibration, of that frequency of thought, that frequency of word, and how it really can affect your health. It really does affect our health. It can be the difference between lack of wellness and wellness. And just consider that, our bodies and our planet are also both about 70% water. So that just goes to show how much it impacts us and our entire world and each other.
Yeah.
So I would just leave it with that. Be conscious about your words. Know how far reaching the influences, and the whole premise when we do these videos, Hadia, you always say, I mean, I might say beautiful a lot, you say loving a lot, but because we truly do believe when we love ourselves and we fully love each other, we won't be using the harmful words. We won't be using the harmful thoughts. We can have in our minds and with our words a heaven, a harmony on earth in our embodiment, and we can share that peace and pass it on. It can be the experience that we're in harmony and in peace together. And that's why this is really so important. And I did think it was so funny because, like we can do word passion quests, and yes, we can look at other reference points if we don't have them in our own life. And I guess it's okay to Google it or ask Alexa. but you can look for lists of like most empowering words. And and I've done that before, and I did it again, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago, thinking about doing this recording, and I had to laugh, because I know at the end of every video, Hadia, you say the most beautiful things, and I sit and I beam because I'm feeling it and I'm taking it in. But I happen to notice, when you say, you look into the camera and you say to everybody watching, you are, well, I would say you are beautiful. I think you usually say like, you are attractive, you are intelligent, you're brilliant, you are abundant. All of these things are on that list of empowering words. And so, I drink it up. And I hope everyone else does too. Like that's what we want to give you. That's what we want to leave you with every time we come together this way.
Yeah. So it's valuable to give yourself a break and to do life little by slow. I tell my clients, when you step into the realm of wanting to live life mindfully and wanting to learn how to love yourself and care for yourself, do it little by slow. Have compassion, loving, understanding, and sweetness and tenderness for yourself. Because when we release something, we got to grieve it. And then embodying something new, it takes practice, 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 practice. And it takes time to learn a new way of thought, a new way of feeling, new way of action, new way of living. And doing it in the most mindful way you know how, and keep expanding your mindfulness in your life. And you mentioned science and research. There's also been tracking people, families, in how from conception, when they conceive a child, and if the mother and father were happy, the child is happy and he's well adjusted. When life goes on and then the mother and father are not happy, the second child is angry and not happy and not well adjusted. And then usually when the parents end up being divorced, the child who came into the world with happy parents is okay with it, and the child who came into the world with parents who were not happy has a hard time in their life. So our state of beingness and our state of thinking and feeling and actions is really, it shapes our life. It shapes who we truly are. And it's important, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I think it's worth repeating. It's like practice, practice, practice. You got to practice shifting to who you really are. It's not like you're not a happy person. It's like you got hurt and became unhappy because of the pain that was imposed on you as a child, as a teenager, as a grown up. And then that became the perpetuating habit that you got into. All of us are all born loving, kind, beautiful, zestful, amazing, brilliant, creative, free. And we forget, remember who you truly are. We're not teaching you anything that is not in you naturally. All these things, mindful thoughts, positive words, connection, that's in our nature. It is in your nature. And all you need to do is remember. And the way you remember is by practicing. Practice who you truly are. And as always, I love you. Angela loves you. Love is given. Love is given. And we get to have discernment who we want to hang out with and who we don't, because people's behavior affects us. And you get to have discernment. Know that love is given, and you don't have to invite everyone to your home. You don't have to go hang out with everybody. And knowing that you truly love yourself and you care for yourself. And you start doing action steps, mental consciousness, emotional consciousness, mindful living. That you are loving, you are amazing, you are zestful, you're beautiful, you're brilliant, you're adorable, you're creative, you're smart. And we say bye for now, and we will talk to you later. If you want to work with me, go to hadialoving.com and sign up for your sessions. I'm here to support you, to help you live a mindful life, change your life from negative to positive, and get the life that you deserve, that you deserve. And Angela is also available. She's an amazing healer. So reach out to both of us. We're here for you. All right. We love you. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time. Bye.